National Championship trophy presented by Dr. Pepper. Hold on, let me give that pretty thing a smooch. Wait for it. Wait for it. Yeah, you got to wait till you got the confetti in the air for the proper photo op. And nice to see you again. How you been? The 58-point victory is the largest in any college football. This is USC's 36-point win over OU when they were crowned the champs of the 2004 season. 65 points, also the most in any national championship. It included 55 unanswered. After the game was 10-7. Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit join us now from Los Angeles. And guys, we wondered if maybe that New Year's Eve day exhausted all of the drama. Yep, it sure did. We got a demolition. And, you know, I wrote this down as soon as Coach Smart said it to Holly Rowe before the game. He said, we want to hunt. And I thought, ooh, okay. And Sonny Dyke said at halftime his guys were wide-eyed. You got a group of dogs that want to hunt a group of wide-eyed frogs, and I guess you get this game. Chris, I'll start with you. At what point did you sense that this was just not going to be a fair fight?
Yeah, I think when Kirby made that comment at the beginning of the game, I mean, he did a masterful job, Scott. We kind of joke about the mind games that coaches play to push the players' buttons. Right. I don't know who disrespected Georgia that much. I really don't. I mean, we thought they were pretty good from the start. Maybe people were picking them to win the championship with all those guys gone, but he found ways to motivate this team, and it was pitch perfect, this preparation in all phases for this game.
I think Scotty was leading that parade, actually, about not doubting Georgia all.
Yeah, that was me, Kirk. I said the dogs stink.
Was you. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the reason I say that, dude, is like, who's saying this?
Yeah.
I don't care they lost five first-rounders. They recruit and develop as well as anybody and motivate somehow as well as anybody despite all the success. To answer the question you gave him, we would get to a break, and they scored their first three possessions. And when you're calling a game, you just want a competitive game, right? You're not rooting for anybody other than being selfish for ourselves to see a close game. And we kind of looked at
viewers, by the way.
And the viewers, and we kind of looked at each other, Scott, and it was like, oh, boy, this one may get out of hand. And that was in the first couple series for me.
I think that the analysis is very straightforward here. But going back to the game you referenced in Atlanta at the stroke of midnight, people will say forever because of the result here that was the de facto championship game. And remember that Georgia, in their backyard, was very nearly down 18 in the fourth quarter. Harrison got knocked out of the game by Bullard. It was the MVP tonight on defense. And they held him to a field goal, so it was still 14. And then Georgia began to pull back and outscored Ohio State 18-3 in the fourth quarter. Had to get that missed field goal at the end, or it would have been Ohio State standing here. And that was the moment for Georgia all season long. Those 15 minutes when they had to show their real qualities. Tonight, by comparison, was easy.
And Scott, don't you almost feel like that last week was the national championship? I mean, now that the dust is settled, that's what it feels like to me.
And I started to jot down a question about a parallel to like an NCAA tournament, right, where you'll see a team survive somebody. But that analogy for me falls flat because that's often a team that's a higher seed that has to survive a lower seed. Ohio State is not a lower seeded team. They're in the same weight class. But yes, Georgia had to survive that, and they did with a ferocious 15 minutes. And you guys have covered this sport for decades. You know that getting to the top's really hard. Staying there is harder. Every single coach has said that. I give each of you a crack at this. What do you think, Chris, that Kirby Smart has figured out? How's he threaded the needle of getting this program to a place where they are?
Well, you recruit guys who like to work. Besides their talent, they embrace the work and the strain. They want to put the pads on and hit even more. And then that's in the culture now. I think, though, that this team did have a burden to chase another championship and to be perfect. And that was a real wear and tear. I think what he did a great job of, despite what they left in the field against Ohio State, with the trophy in the building, they found a way to get these guys to just cut loose, forget the pressure, the burden, and go leave no doubt, as he said. It was just a tremendous job.
Kirby's made this his own. He's done it his own way in Athens. But I still go back to what he learned when he was with Nick Saban. Nick Saban, since 2009, has been as consistent as any college football coach or NFL coach that you've ever watched for that period of time. and he's the master motivator. In this era of NIL and individuality, I always step back in awe of these guys that year after year find a way to get a group of individuals to come together as a team. And Kirby does that as well. Right now, he probably does it the best.
Better, yeah.
Of anybody in this sport. And I have such appreciation and admiration for what he's able to do with these individual superstars to get them to buy into that G and the red and the black and the Bulldogs and what this thing means to them collectively. It's hard to do, as we know.
He did it his own way. You know how hard it is, Scott, in this sport, harder than any other sport, to have personal relationships with players, the sheer size of the roster. Kirby Smart does that incredibly well. It's not just yelling at players and making them work hard. It's really the relationship he fosters, not with the stars only, but the guys on the scout team, everybody in that roster. It's really something to see.
And I noticed immediately there was a drop, and I can't recall who had it. And Kirby's over there grabbing the back of his shoulder pads with a big old smile, as if to say, "Hey, you'll get the next one." Now, granted, when you're up 38, it's easier not to be too angry about that. But I do think you see the sincerity of the relationships there. Now, look, a team gets obliterated, and this is not the time. No one in Fort Worth wants a parade. But when this moment fades and they're able to look back on the totality of this year, it was an historic season, and they ought to feel incredible pride for what they accomplished. I guess when the time comes, how do they frame this year in Fort Worth?
Well, that's what I feel badly about. Look, when you get to the biggest stage, everything is magnified. Achievement and also embarrassment. I mean, you feel badly for a team that didn't get to show why it got to this championship game. I mean, look, they were overwhelmed by Georgia. It was no matchup tonight. But TCU, folks, isn't that bad, okay? I mean, this score, they'll have to live with this score, 65-7 forever. And it didn't really show their championship qualities. Max Duggan didn't get to show you why he was a Heisman finalist.
Well, this is a team that was 5-7. They have a first-year head coach. 4 guys on their team had ever been to a bowl game. Picked 7th in the preseason in their own conference in the Big 12. That's not the SEC. It's the Big 12. Nobody expected anything from these guys. And as you know, Scotty, they just kept finding ways to win. They're bouncing off of guardrails, winning in the fourth quarter, that last-second kick against Baylor and Waco. And they just started to kind of believe that they had some magic. No one ever at TCU thought they could match up man for man against Georgia. They knew that they had to catch some breaks, a pick 6 against Michigan, a couple of those. They needed that kind of night. But it just got away from them early. And once it did, there was just nothing they could do to slow down the machine that is the Georgia Bulldogs.
Boys, you know how much I love the sport. You know how much I appreciate you both and enjoy these opportunities to visit. And I look forward to the next time, whenever it is. Travel well where you're going. And until next time, guys, thank you for everything that you guys do for the sport. It's a great treat to watch.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
Kirk Herbstreit and Chris Fowler, brilliant as always on the call. They were giving you a year. Here's the Horned Frogs head coach, Sonny Dykes, with Molly McGrath.
Coach, you made it to the national championship game, but you fell short. What did you say to your team when you entered the locker room?
Well, obviously you got to give Georgia a ton of credit. I mean, they showed what kind of football program they have, and we've got some players over there that are pretty special. And, obviously we didn't do a great job getting our guys prepared. We've been on a heck of a run, and it seemed like we just ran out of steam a little bit tonight. And, again, you got to give your hats off to Georgia and what they did. And obviously we got to improve. Our goal is to get back on a stage like this, and we're going to have to roll our sleeves up, go to work, and still have a long way to go before we're ready to compete. But I'm really proud of our guys for what they've done. To come this far in a year is pretty remarkable, and got a lot of guys in that locker room that are hurt right now.
Yeah, your quarterback, Max Duggan, just walked out of the locker room in tears. What has he meant to you and to this program?
Well, just a special guy. We're just telling Max, I've got a 6-year-old son, and I hope he grows up to be like Max someday. And, it's a pretty good compliment for Max, and it's true. He's just a warrior, a battler, and, none of us played our best tonight. We certainly didn't coach our best. But it's been unbelievable what he's meant to TCU football, and, couldn't be more proud of him.
What are the positives that you'll take away from this run and the foundation that it creates for TCU moving forward?
Well, obviously this was disappointing performance tonight. We got to look in the mirror and see what we did wrong and see what we have to get corrected. And that always starts with me and, figuring out, the next time so that this doesn't happen. Next time we're on a stage like this. But we had a heck of a run. I mean, we really, really played well and just continued to gain confidence. And, won some games that we probably shouldn't have along the way, and our players just continued to believe. And tonight was not our night, but we'll regroup and go from there.
All right, thank you, Coach.
Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Wasn't just the score that was particularly one-sided. Georgia outgained TCU by 401 yards in the title game, 589 to 188, which is by far the most significant margin that we've seen in a national championship